us in progress right now, but I just went for a run. It's an unseasonably beautiful day here in the Northeast, and I had to take advantage of it because we all know that we are in for it in another couple of months. We can call this Fresh Face Friday, but actually it's Wednesday and I'm not so fresh right now, really. I just took off my hat in order to film this, so I'm sorry if I'm a little bit of a disaster. I was wearing my Donner Party Mountain Runners hat before this. What's up, Donner Party Mountain Runners? If you are in the Tahoe area and really want to experience something incredible, go run the Castle Peak 100K. I did a preview of the course. It was absolutely ridiculous. Thank you for showing me that course. Not a course I think I want to do anytime soon. So the reason why I decided to do this video today was because I had this amazing conversation with a really good friend of mine. She's someone that I want to introduce to you soon, but I want to actually talk to her first before I do that. We had a really great conversation yesterday about how many things that there are in the world of ultra running, some strange things with eating, nutrition, body image that no one seems to really want to talk about, even though a lot of us experience them. It's not to say that this is gonna be the case for everyone. I certainly don't want to say that this is a blanket statement about all ultramarathoners or all of the ultramarathon world. It's just the experience that I've had so far. We're gonna talk about 4 things in the world of ultramarathoning that no one seems to want to talk about. The number one thing that no one wants to talk about is the fact that when you're doing endurance training or training for a super long distance race, there's a slight possibility, more than a slight possibility, that you're going to gain weight. This is something that people are very uncomfortable with. For the most part, people start running because, well, that's not true. People start running for a lot of different reasons, but there are many people that start running with the idea that it's gonna help them stay fit, stay healthy, and of course, lose weight. Let's be real. But the fact is that the more miles you add to your training, the more calories you need. That is absolutely true. But also the more calories you want. There's this thing called the rate of perceived exertion. Somewhere in our minds we have a very unscientific yet very compelling scale of what we think is difficult. When we go running, if we don't perceive the run to be very difficult, we're less apt to pack in the calories, versus if we perceive the race to be more difficult. This is a continuum, by the way. I'm not just doing this to wave my fingers around, even though that's kind of what it looks like. On the higher end of the continuum, if we feel that our run is very difficult, we are more apt to overeat or to eat more calories because we feel in some way that we're compensating for that higher amount of exertion. That experience of rate of perceived exertion dictating our caloric intake has been repeated over and over again in different studies. So if you go out and run 5 miles on, let's say, a flat bike path on a beautiful sunny day, your perception of that is kind of like, meh. But if it's 5 miles, let's say super hilly trail and there's like rain and wind and it's really difficult, you're gonna really feel that you worked harder, and chances are you might indulge in that burger afterwards. It's different for everyone, but it is the thing that kind of makes us go, oh yeah, the IHOP pancake breakfast is a viable choice after that run today, versus maybe I'll just have a salad. People start doing their either marathon or ultramarathon training. They are at a certain weight, and as the training goes up and their fitness increases, they're very discouraged to find that the scale is also going up. The second thing about ultramarathon training that no one wants to talk about, this may be slightly controversial, and I apologize ahead of time if this bothers you, but I think there's a famous Bill Rogers quote. I think it's Bill Rogers? Buck Rogers? Bill Rogers? I'm not sure if I'm running to eat or eating to run. And everybody laughed. But you know what? This sounds an awful lot like some type of precursor to, I don't want to use this term, but way down the line from this could be something like an exercise bulimia. We have to fuel ourselves as athletes, and if we're going to be engaging in endurance training, certainly we have to take care of that. We need to eat properly, and we need to make sure that we're properly fueled. But the problem comes when we find ourselves running a certain amount of miles in order to compensate for the food that we're eating. If you have an indulgence over the weekend, fine. But it starts to become unhealthy when you calculate the amount of calories in that indulgence, and then you figure out how many miles you need to run in order to get rid of that indulgence or to run off that indulgence. And then you set out the next day or later that day in order to get rid of whatever it was that you ate over the weekend. This is unhealthy behavior. It will set you down a path that you will have a very hard time coming back from. I see this in ultramarathon training a lot. that this is not a female issue. In fact, a lot of the times the people I hear making flippant commentary about this are men. Chances are they don't even see how it can be a problem, and because men are not socialized to think in terms of eating disorders, they just say it because they think it sounds funny. Oh, I've got to go run off those wings. Gosh, I can't wait till after this race so I can stuff my face with donuts. Certainly with a long distance event, you definitely need to refuel afterwards as well, but I'm just talking about a plus and minus situation where you are adding and subtracting calories and miles to compensate for indulgences. I just think that we need to be a little bit more aware of the fact that this could lead down an unhealthy path. The third thing about ultramarathon training that no one wants to talk about is that sometimes you may need to make a trade-off between body weight and performance. We sometimes have this ideal body weight in our heads of what we want to weigh, and that may not match up with what our body needs to be in order to be able to healthfully carry out the training necessary to achieve a certain distance. So there was a woman years ago who used to write, I think she still writes a blog about ultramarathon training, and her name is Aline Nitsky, and I'll put the link below. And she was honestly the first woman I ever heard talk about this issue. This is not just a female issue, it's a male issue as well. It's an everybody issue. She was very clear about the fact that in order to carry out her ultramarathon training to the best of her ability, she had to be about 5 to 7, sometimes 10 pounds more than what she really wanted to be. And that can be a hard pill to swallow. We come into the sport of running sometimes because we're trying to attain some type of physical ideal, or maybe in the beginning it's a weight loss thing, but I think sometimes it's hard to understand that your body needs different things when you are training over very long distances. This is not the case for everyone. So I know there's probably people watching this that are like, no, that wasn't me. And that's fine. I'm just saying that these are possibilities and these are things that people don't necessarily talk about. When they happen, sometimes people feel very isolated and alone, but the fact is that you're not alone. There's tons of people experiencing this exact same thing. The fourth thing about ultramarathon training that no one wants to talk about, it's probably pretty obvious by now, but ultramarathoners can sometimes suffer from body image issues. Ultra running is a super egalitarian sport. Anyone can sign up for a race with an elite right in front of them. So we're all sort of moshed together, and we get to run the same trails as some of the very best. That's wonderful. The problem is that we are comparing ourselves to those elites much more readily than we would be at, let's say, the New York City Marathon. I don't know about you, but if I am up on the line at the New York City Marathon, my line is at like 11-minute pace. There's no Kenyans around me at 11-minute pace, okay? That's not happening. When you go to an ultramarathon, I think that sometimes we have the tendency of feeling very, very close to the people around us, even the elites, because we're out there for the same reasons. You know, we're there for the same spiritual reasons and physical reasons and mental reasons. Yes, we are all mental. I think we're out there for all the same reasons, and I think that we feel a kinship with the group, and so that's good, but also the bad part is that we're going to compare ourselves to these people that are running trails twice the speed that we are. Body image issues can come when we're comparing ourselves to people that have an unattainable physical ideal, and it's not just for ballet dancers or bodybuilders, it's also in our sport as well. I see men suffer from this as well. I see guys at the back of the pack lamenting, you know, their love handles, and they're looking at the skinny hipster dudes with the mustaches and the six packs and the trucker hats in front of us. Not me. So I know that it's a male and a female issue, and I know that it happens all the time. Now I'm going to take this to a personal place. I started this YouTube channel to talk about a lot of issues having to do with food and eating and body issues and ultramarathon training and how they all relate to each other. But also, I'm here to tell you my story. I really don't have any desire to cover things up or try to present some type of perfect face to you. Okay, not this face. Some type of perfect rendition of myself when that's not who I am. Last year, I epically burned out. I ran way too much for way too long and completely crashed out. I was too skinny, I lost my period, I lost my mind. I am trying to come back from that. I think that there are a lot of people who could benefit from learning about my mistakes. One of the worst things that happened to me last year when I was right at the verge of burnout was that I ran the Dick Collins Fire Trails 50 miler and took 2 hours off my PR. And you know what I did? I got rid of all of the photos of the finish line because I thought I looked fat in those pictures. I'm serious. I just ran 50 miles at pace for me, 2 hours faster than I ever had before, and I was worried about how big my legs looked in the picture. This is not right. And I know I'm not the only one. A good friend of mine just ran a 100-miler, and she looked at her pictures at the finish line and said the only thing I could see were the extra rolls I packed on during my ultramarathon training. This is ridiculous. Of course, it's totally understandable. I've been there, some of you have probably been there, and the message is you're not alone. So here's my question that I'm asking myself, and maybe I'm asking you too. What is it about smallness that is so compelling? Why do we want to view ourselves as the smallest possible version of what we are? Why is it that I feel as though the elite body type, which is completely unattainable for me, is something that I want to aspire to? I don't feel that way now, but I really did for a long time. And it's kind of upsetting. For example, why am I trying to look like someone who's an ultramarathoner when I already am one? I ran the same 50 miles as these elites did that day, and my friend ran the same 100 miles as the elites did that day. So why do we diminish our accomplishments and in effect love ourselves less because we don't like what we see in the mirror? I just think it's sad, you know? So I hope that maybe some of this stuff made sense to you and maybe gives you some food for thought. Ooh, pardon the pun, that was a bad one. This is not everyone's experience of running ultramarathons. It's not everyone's experience of being a runner, but it is something that I see, it's something that I have experienced, and the purpose of this is just to share with you. If I raised any questions today that you have thought about yourself, or if you have experienced some of these mindsets, if you have friends that have said some of these things, if some of this stuff has crossed your path and you maybe just raised a little red flag in your head, please leave a comment below. And I hope that you like this video and subscribe. With your feedback, I hope to deliver more of the stuff that you like. So thanks for watching.